the No Sex Show. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. One of the biggest parts of the relationship between old Ginger Bollocks and this one's wife is sex. Sex, or shagging, screwing, nailing, boning, banging, dawdling, boinking, porking, tromboning, or stupping, are all various means of enabling a narcissist to assert control over the victim. Doing it, getting laid, getting down to some funny business, is a fundamental way for a narcissist to assert control over their victim with some hanky-panky by shaking the sheets and drawing fuel. All of the oohs and ahs and give it to me baby, etc. provide copious amounts of fuel coming from an intimate source. Sometimes that's an intimate tertiary source, but more usually it's an intimate secondary or intimate primary source. Therefore, the potency of the fuel is much higher when the jumping of bones and amorous congress are taking place. The narcissists that use sex the most, and all narcissists will use sex in some form at some point within the dynamic between them and an appropriate victim, is amongst the somatic and the elite. Victim narcissists, when they're baking the potato or buttering the biscuit, often do so from a position of incompetence or wanting to be led by the other person, behaving in a particularly submissive manner when they're putting the bread in the oven. But sex is still used by them in a much more submissive way to assert control over that individual and draw fuel from them. Cerebral narcissists, when they're engaging in some horizontal refreshment or bam bam in the ham, are similarly utilizing sex, but they will engage in the actual act of planting the parsnip, but they generally prefer to do so from a more remote position in terms of telephone sex. So they would be burping the worm whilst talking dirty down the telephone or engaging in some video sex. However, somatic narcissists and elite narcissists are very much the ones who want to send out for sushi. They want to get the corn ground and grope for trout in a peculiar river. This is because sex is an absolutely brilliant way of ensuring that control and fuel and residual benefits are obtained. By doing squat thrusts in the cucumber patch, the narcissist is able to cause that individual to fall in love, because invariably the empathic victim bundles together love, intimacy, and sex. So when the bedroom rodeo is taking place, they are bowled over by the sheer hypersexualization of that narcissist. When they're doing the devil's dance, they're giving loads of fuel to the narcissist. And of course there is the residual benefit, because the narcissist has nerve endings and it feels good, and they invariably have an orgasm. And therefore, as a consequence of all of this, sex, or doing the old hot yoga or parallel parking, enables the narcissist to gain at least 3 of the prime aims. Somatic narcissists are the most hypersexualized of them all, and that includes this one's wife. As I've explained before, she'll have doled out plenty of spicy poontang to old Ginger Bollocks for the purposes of luring him in. Her principal methods of drawing him in will have been to mirror his likes, will have been to express false compassion vis-a-vis the vulnerabilities that he has, the loss of Diana, etc., and to chuck lots of bumping uglies at him, ensuring that they danced the goat's jig and did some 2-person push-ups, bringing it all together so that this tsunami of sexual activity bowled over Fantapubes and left him like a rabbit in the headlights. Memorably, of course, he said, "She lets you do anything," and when some of his friends pointed out that maybe she was a bit nuts, he said, "Yes, but she's so hot." It's clear that he was thinking with little Harry. Somatic narcissists are often hypersexualized, meaning that when you see a man about a dog, you get lots of it. That when Harry's been putting the wand in the Chamber of Secrets, it's over and over again, and not just frequency, but also proficiency. Not all narcissists are good between the sheets, but many are. And thus, as a consequence of having lots of practice with other partners and a willingness because of a lack of boundary recognition, it's often the case that you'll find that the somatic narcissist will take old one-eye to the optometrist in a variety of different places. There is no doubt that this one's wife engaged in this in order to get Harry under control. They made the beast with two backs, and did so frequently. So in those early days, it would not have surprised me that if on the first or even second date, he'd have been given a hand shandy, possibly a BJ, maybe even more, where it would be a case of riding St. George or making whoopee. Thereafter, during the golden period, he will have enjoyed taking a roll in the hay and engaging in giving one's arse a salad. The fact is that a bit of How's Your Father, Getting Lucky, and some afternoon delight would have very much appealed to the randy ginger fucker. But after he's engaged in smashing her repeatedly and tossing a hot dog down a hallway, there then comes the devaluation. And that's where he finds himself now. He'd been playing a lot of hide the sausage and had been putting the banana in the fruit salad. But nowadays, it'll be few and far between that he gets to batter dip the corn dog. The opportunities for him to fill the cream donut and have a bellyful of marrow are much reduced, because by the same token, as the narcissist doles out plenty of passing the gravy, the narcissist will also remove it. So the opportunities to make and bacon are very much removed. Matrimonial polka is off the menu. The horizontal tango has been cancelled. He might attempt to conquer the Pink Fortress, but the drawbridge has been drawn up with a resounding no. This is particularly effective towards a victim, because the quality and frequency of the bow chicka wow wow was so great, the victim almost becomes hooked on it. And then, because they're no longer dipping the wick or engaging in doing the nasty, they're left hugely disappointed. Like many things with the narcissist, you're given so much of the good stuff so that when it's taken away, you fall even further. It's a little bit like if you dig a ditch and push somebody into it, they fall a distance. But to make it really hurt, why not build a tower, take them to the top of it and chuck them off it? And then there's further to fall, from the tower down into the ditch. So once upon a time, whilst Harry may have been balls deep in enjoying exploring the hidden valley, eventually he's no longer able to hit a home run as a consequence of her saying no. He can't understand it. How is it that this girl that was so hot, in his view, and was quite happy to christen the yak, is no longer engaging in Slytherin the Hufflepuff? He wants to bend her over a barrel and harpoon the salty longshoreman, but she's not allowing him to jam the clam, and power driving is prohibited. In the circumstances, this provokes an emotional reaction from him, which means that he provides lots of negative fuel. His attempts to wet the willy fall on stony ground, and whilst he might attempt to use a telescope to explore the black hole, it ultimately means that he is devalued by it being a no-sex show. He can't understand why somebody that wanted to have sex with him all the time suddenly stops. But the point is, she never really wanted to have sex with him. She never really wanted to torpedo the eel with him or send an email to the spam folder. It was all about ensuring that when they were testing the mattress and doing the no pants dance and engaging in adult nap time, it was done for her needs. Sure, as an actress, as all narcissists are actors or actresses, she'll have made him believe that when she was giving the dog a bone, that it was absolutely fantastic. He'll have been made to feel like a sexual god. And that when he entered the castle, that she was making all of the noises that made him think, my God, she's really enjoying this. But it's simply a performance. She believes she's enjoying it because the narcissism does so. But when it comes to hiding the bishop, eventually the bishop is no longer allowed admittance, and his attempts to pump fur and whitewash the picket fence are simply cast to one side. This leaves him confused, and when he's denied tunnel patrol, it ultimately means that he's just as easy to control because he's still clamouring for an opportunity to do the tube snake boogie. But she says, you can't. You're not allowed to sharpen the pencil. And in the circumstances, although he's waving the Weasley wand, she's not interested in that happening. His protestations provide her with negative fuel, he's still under control, and she doesn't have to get down and do the nasty with him. This is where Harry finds himself at the current time. He's not taking Grandma to Applebee's any longer because he's in sustained devaluation, and one of the methods of devaluing an empathic victim, particularly from a somatic narcissist, is to present the no-sex show. He's not getting any. It might be separate bedrooms, he might be cast out to the chicken coop. Occasionally, he'll get some. Once in a while, it's a case that he's whittling the love branch once again, and he gets to know her in the biblical sense as he mashes the fat. That happens as a consequence of a respite period, and therefore he thinks, fantastic, everything's good again. And as he busts a nut, he feels fantastic about it all, only then for the doors to be slammed, closed, on a carnal embrace. No longer are they able to discuss Ugandan affairs. Harry is in a sustained devaluation. Sweeping the chimney has been taken off the agenda. Occasionally, he will be allowed to have a trip to Pound Town, but ultimately, it's infrequent. That's why he often looks so miserable. And, as a somatic narcissist, she will use sex as a major weapon of both seduction and control and devaluation. What can Harry do about this in order to ensure that he can test the mattress again and make faces? Ultimately, nothing. It's very much at her behest as to when he's painted white or black, as to whether she allows him to get back into bed with her. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.